going to be a little hard to do because I got so much to say and I don't even know where to start. Like, if you haven't seen my first video on Kirk and Candace, this will be a part 2. So if you didn't see part 1, go watch that one where I talk about Kirk and Candace and representation as black people on that damn show. Go watch that other video. You see my stance on it on that episode and what happened in that episode. Go watch that. This is a part 2 because this is adding on another layer to what I already had to correct them on in the last video. So now we really got to get into some shit. Some of y'all gonna be offended. Some black men may be offended. Maybe even some black women. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna say how I feel. I'm gonna say what I saw, what I felt when I saw this shit. And we gonna keep it 100. We gonna keep it real. And we gonna get into it. If you are sensitive as fuck and you can't take criticism or another human being's opinion, click off. Like, there's nothing I can do for you. I'm gonna give my opinion and I'm gonna give it raw and real. So if you don't like it, you could go now. Now, the crazy thing is, when I did that first video, I did not think that I was going to have to come and follow up with a second video. And we're going to talk about a lot of things in this video. We're going to talk about the black community. We're going to talk about the respect that black men do not have for black women and the lack thereof of respect for one another in our community and how we as black people don't know how to stay on code within our own race. And how we don't know how to properly represent staying on code when we're around other races. Candace and Kirk, this video is going to be about y'all and how y'all need to learn how to stay on code and how y'all need to learn how to stay on code and represent the code of the black community if you're going to be around all these white people on this show. Now, in this video, I'm more so going to be blaming Kirk. I'm just going to put that out there. So if you're like a diehard Kirk fan, you're going to have to sit through some criticism if you're going to watch this video. Otherwise, click off now. Or if you're one of those black men who feel like black men do no wrong and everything that goes through and happens to a black man is everyone else's fault, then click off too. Because I'm, bitch, accountability. I give that out. I give accountability out to everybody. So if you don't want accountability, bye. Because it's going to be given out. The fact that I had to make 2 videos on representation and how black people need to stay on code with one another and how they need to represent each other and their race correctly, especially when you're around other races of people. The fact that I have to make 2 videos about this just lets you know how off code we are as a black community. How much we don't respect each other that much as a community, as a whole. Let me get to that. But in this video, oh, Kirk, bitch, you need a fat... Let me scoop up some of this. Get a fat scoop. You need a fat scoop of accountability. A fat one. Because all that over a flower? Really? When you just look at the episode, you will say... Some people will say they don't see what Kirk did wrong. Some people will say it wasn't a big deal. You know, Kirk had every right to be upset because, you know, Candace is playing code. Whatever. Okay. Some people are going to say, yeah, Kirk did go off. He went too far. Blase. But then a lot of people are going to see it the way I see it, and I'm going to tell you the way it was, period. This is the way I seen it, but I'm also, let's be honest, this is the way it is, and I'm going to break it down. The way I saw it was Kirk, as a black man, being the only black man in the house, was going off and embarrassing and not properly representing or staying on code while he was embarrassing the one and only other black girl in the house. You embarrassed the fuck out of Candace, and you two are the only black people in the house, and you two are the only black people that are there to represent how we treat each other, and you both completely failed. But in this episode, Kirk, you have definitely failed. Because you embarrassed the fuck out of your sister and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. You don't even know it. If this would have been Nilsa, if this would have been Amy, if this would have been Courtney, I wouldn't have made this video. But of course it wasn't them. It was the one and only black girl in the house. The one and only girl that out of any girls in the house, Candace should have been the only girl at least that you should have had a connection with. If you didn't have a connection with none of the girls in the house, Candace should have at least been the one and only one you should have had a connection with. Because, and I know you're going to say, well, just because you guys are the same race, that doesn't mean that you have to be best friends. You have to be, let me tell you this. You don't have, just because you guys are the same race, you don't have to be best friends. I'm not saying that just because they're both black, they need to be best friends. I know, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, when you recognize that you are a minority in a situation and you see another person, whether that be male or female, is also the same minority as you, and you guys are both the only two minority in the whole house, yeah, it is something to be said when you two are the only two in the house and you're the same minority that are the only two disrespecting each other and making each other look like idiots in front of everybody else. Everybody else in the house, even though they've had disagreements. And I'm not going to sit here and compare it because, you know, there's a lot of more whites than the two blacks in the house. So, I mean, obviously there's going to be more fights amongst them than there is going to be Candace and Kirk because they're the only two compared to 5, you know. But, I mean, like, the way, when they do go at it, though, the way they rip into each other and the way they embarrass each other, and with them being the only two black people and the only two minorities in the house, it just looks bad. It just does. It just looks bad. And I'm not saying they can't have a disagreement or argument because they're the only black people. I'm not saying that, but it's like, the problem is when they have a disagreement and an argument with one another, they take it to the extreme. And it looks bad because it's like, you two are the only black people in the house. But at the same time, you're the only two black people in the house that argue like that and go to the extreme. And you guys should be on code with one another because you're the only minority, but instead you guys are off code. Instead of uplifting each other with being the only two non-white and the only two people of color, specifically only black people in the house, you would think that you two would be able to uplift each other and to see like, hey, I'm the only black guy, you're the only black girl, like regardless of what goes on, like we need to have a code. Because at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck what nobody says. Other races of people have a code. You won't see, well, first off, you won't never see a house full of black people and 2 white people. So let's just make that clear. But hypothetically, if it was a house full of black people and there was 2 white people in the house, I bet you on everything I love, you will not see those 2 white people trashing each other and disrespecting each other the way that Candace and Kirk did in that house full of white people. You won't see 2 white people doing each other like that in front of 2 black people. You won't see that. You will not see that. You will see the 2 white people having a little bond and having their own little thing in their own little connection outside everyone else. They will still hang out and kick it with everyone else and be a part of the group, but they will also have their own code that they abide by, and they would know not to disrespect each other and give out a bad representation of their race and of themselves in front of black people who are not the same race as them. Just period. Other races of people stay on code. They know how to stay on code. You don't see Hispanics out here trashing each other and writing memes and shit about each other online. You don't see white people trashing each other. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen ever, but you don't see it nearly as much as you see black people online roasting and writing memes about dark skin, light skin, and nappy hair, kinky hair, and this, that, and the third. Like, black people have a bad representation of trashing each other and not giving a fuck about each other, and making each other look bad in front of other races of people and disrespecting one another in front of races of people. Why do you think the term black on black crime exists? You don't hear people use the word Asian on Asian crime. You don't hear people use the words white on white crime. I mean, people every now and again say that as a joke, but really, like, honestly, that's not a real saying. But even though black on black crime is not really a real thing, but it's a real saying. And it's a real saying why? Because it's known that black people shit on each other the most. We shit on each other the most. And in this episode, Kirk embarrassed the fuck out of Candace. And he didn't even know it. He ain't even know it. I honestly don't even think he did it consciously. I don't think he purposely was like, let me embarrass Candace. But the problem is, we as a black community are so far gone. We as a black community have no respect for one another. We as a black community don't know how to stay on code. We as a black community don't know how to have each other's backs, especially, and even if we're the only blacks in the room, we'll still put each other down in front of other races because we're so worried about ourselves and getting ahead. We don't even see like, hey, that's my black sister over there. She's the only other black person in the room with me. But instead of me uplifting her, instead I'm going to just say fuck her and try to get ahead. A lot of black people have that mindset. And in this situation, Kirk didn't even realize that he embarrassed the fuck out of Candace with her being the only black girl in the house, like him, the only black guy in the house. And instead of having her back and just letting it go, he embarrassed the fuck out of her. Now, this is my thing. I understand Kirk was drunk as fuck. You could tell. I get it. I also understand that he felt like Candace was playing Kodai. I understand that. I'm not saying that Kirk didn't have the right to feel like Kodai shouldn't have gave her the flowers. I understand that Kirk does have the right to feel like Candace and Kodai don't need to be together. Kirk does have the right to feel like Kodai should stop giving Candace flowers. Kodai should stop trying to ask her on dates. Kirk does have the right to feel that way. My issue was, and I understand he was drunk. I know some of you guys would be like, he was drunk as fuck. I get that. However, regardless if he's drunk as fuck or not, he still embarrassed the fuck out of her, and he was wrong for doing it. I don't care if he's drunk or not. He was wrong for doing it. He could have felt the way he felt and said what he said when they got home. He could have felt the way he said and said what he said on the side. Did he have to stand there right there and then and say, you're a fucking bitch. You're a pussy ass bitch. What the fuck you give her flowers? You're a bitch. Like, you had to do all that right there and then. You had to. Like, it was no other way. You could have told Kodai he was a bitch. You could have told him that in the car, in the taxi, at the house. You could have pulled to the side in the bathroom. Like, you had to say that and do all that right there in that moment. You not only embarrassed Candace, honestly, you embarrassed the fuck out of Kodai, too. You really did. You made Kodai look like shit, and you embarrassed the fuck out of him. And the fucked up part about it was, all Kodai was trying to do was give her flowers just so she wouldn't be the only girl without flowers. I understand Kirk felt like he goes out his way to get Candace's attention, whatever. You could feel that way, but you didn't have to relay that, and also you didn't have to relay it the way you did right there and then. You embarrassed the fuck out of Kodai when you did that, and you embarrassed the fuck out of Candace when you do that. But I have more of a problem with the fact that you embarrassed Candace because she's black like you, and she's black like me. And I need you, Kirk, if you're going to be on this show with all these white people, to know how to motherfucking stay on code and know how to represent the right way. Because you're not doing it. You get drunk and you, out the blue, just get mad about weird shit and go crazy and try to fight everybody. Like, Kirk, like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with getting drunk, and I'm not saying just because you're black you can't have fun like the other white people. I'm not saying that because they go crazy too and they turn up too. So I'm not saying you can't do that. My issue is, if you're going to do that, don't disrespect your own kind in the process. And what I have a problem when he did that was he embarrassed Candace, and she's the only black girl in the house. And you made her look embarrassed, and you made her look dumb, because all this boy tried to do was get her flowers. And you kind of made it look like as if she didn't deserve flowers. The only black girl in the house who's black like you is getting bashed and chastised because a boy likes her and he got her flowers. She was the only girl at the nightclub that didn't get flowers that night. So it's like, why couldn't she get flowers? But I understand you wasn't thinking about all that. You was drunk and you just felt the way you felt. Okay, that's fine. But this is my issue too. If you feel like Candace doesn't really like Kodai, it don't matter. It's not your place to insert yourself into what Kodai and Candace got going on. I don't see you inserting yourself in Nilsa and what's that boy's name? In Gus's situation. I mean, don't get me wrong, the whole house, including Kirk, has said something, in the little interviews they have. And, they even said something to both Gus and Nilsa together and individually about, we don't think it's that much of a good idea for you guys to hang out. We don't really think it's a good idea for you guys to fuck because you guys get emotional and da-da-da. Yes, everyone has said something, including Kirk, and that's cool. But nobody's ever went in on Kodai. Nobody's ever went in on Nilsa and Gus the way that Kirk went in on Kodai and Candace. Nobody's ever done that. Nobody's sat here and cussed Gus the fuck out for fucking Nelsa. Like, why the fuck did you fuck her? You know damn well she got feelings for you. Why would you do? Nobody did that to them. All got I keep getting these motherfuckers' names mixed up. I'm sorry, guys. They keep getting their names mixed up. But all Kodai did was give Candace a flower. He didn't fuck her. He didn't spend $300 on a dinner date. He didn't buy her a Rolex. He didn't do nothing that was that spectacular for you to get upset. Like, it was a nice gesture. I can see if he, like, spent his last on her, or he gave her hundreds of dollars, or he got her a really nice, expensive present. But he just did a nice gesture for her real quick. So it's like, for him to do that nice gesture, like, was not a big deal. Even if you didn't agree with it, it wasn't that big of a deal for you to turn around and embarrass the only black girl in the household, the only black girl who's black like you. It wasn't that big of a deal for you to embarrass that girl in front of the whole bar and in front of your whole house. She's black like you. Stay on code, Kirk. Learn how to do better at your representation, because you're looking foolish. You're starting to look to me, like you're one of these other black guys out here who don't value black women and feel like black women don't deserve to be treated the way other races of women deserve to be treated. Period. Because all the other girls in the house are white and they got roses. The one black girl that's in the house got a rose, but you went off on it like she didn't deserve it. So every other girl in the house deserved roses, but not Candace. Nobody goes off on Gus or Nelsa when they fuck or when they flirt and hang out. Nobody goes ham and says, you're a pussy bitch. Nobody does all that. So the one and only black girl in the house, and she's black like you, let me keep reminding you, Kurt, gets a flower, and you go all ballistic and haywire. That doesn't sit well with me. That just gives me vibes like, you just feel like she doesn't deserve to be chased after. Nelsa deserves it. Amy deserves it. The other girl deserves it, but not Candace. And then when he tried to say, his reason, because the reason why he feels like Kodai's a bitch for giving her flowers because Candace said that she feels like he only likes her when the cameras are around. Are you fucking kidding me? You went this crazy, you went this off because she said to you in confidence that she feels like he only likes you when he only likes her when cameras are around? Are you kidding me? Like, that was all she said for you to go off like that? I thought he was going to say something like, she has a boyfriend at home. Or, she's fucking somebody else and she's playing you just so that she can get your money. Or, she said she doesn't like white boys. Or, she said, Kodak, you're a bitch. Or, she said she doesn't like you, she's just using you. She said that she feels he only likes her when cameras are around. And that's why you're mad he got her a flower. He's not allowed to give her a flower because she's skeptical of how his intentions are for her. Newsflash, Kirk. And every other black man out there who thinks that black women don't deserve options. We are women too. We may be black women, but we still women, and we deserve options too. If we are going to vet a man, we have the right to be skeptical of his intentions. If Candace feels that way, she has the right to feel that way. Now, I will say she could have said that to Kodai. Instead of telling Kirk and Gus, she should have said that to Kodai. So at least it wouldn't have been like something she's feeling but not relaying it to him. I will say that she could have told him. But I mean, like, it wasn't that big of a deal for you to went off the way you did. And it's like she has the right to feel that way. If Kodai is only giving her flowers and calling her cute and sweet and all this extra shit that he does on camera, only on camera, then she has the right to feel like, maybe this is only for the cameras. If he doesn't call her and text her and check on her when the show is not recording, if he's not flying out to see her, or if they're not kicking it and hanging out when the show's not recording, if they're not talking when the show's not recording, but they're only talking and communicating and he's giving her stuff when the show's recording, she has the right to feel like, maybe he only fucks with me when the show's recording. She has the right to feel that way. Now, yes, she could have told Kodai that. She could have relayed that to Kodai, and I will say that. But I don't feel it was that big of a deal to where it was like, she doesn't deserve to be courted. She doesn't deserve to have a guy chase after her. That's what happens when you're dating. When you're a female, most women want a guy to chase after them. Like, that's just what happens. And if we're suspicious or we feel like, maybe this doesn't feel right or we see a red flag, we have the right to investigate the red flag. Yes, she should have investigated that red flag with Kodai, but at the same time, she don't really like Kodai like that. So she didn't really feel like it needed to be said because it's not like she's trying to fuck with him like that. It's just kind of like, oh, she'll accept it, but whatever. Like before I got with my husband, before he became my husband, he had to chase this pussy. I wasn't just giving it out for free. Like he had to take me on dates. He had to court me. And there was a time where I was like, you still talking to your ex? I don't know if I can fuck with this. Now, I related to him. I didn't tell his friends. I told him. So I will say that she could have said it to him. But still, there's going to be times when you're dating and you're courting someone where you have to vet them and realize, I don't know if I like this. Is this a red flag? And you're supposed to go to that person and talk to them about it and figure it out. Like, I don't see the problem. Like, yes, like I said, and I'll say this again. Candace could have talked to Kodai about it. Yes. But at the same time, she is not wrong for feeling that way. If she feels that way, she feels that way. She's a bitch now, Kodai, because she feels like you only like her when the camera is around. No, maybe you're the bitch for allowing men to call you a bitch in public bars. Maybe you're the bitch for only trying to court her when the cameras are around. And instead of calling her a bitch, you could have talked to her about it and confronted her instead of trying to look cool in front of the other castmates and call her out too because Kirk and Gus was doing it. And it's just like I don't like the way because Kirk, and what he doesn't realize is like him doing all that, not only did it embarrass Candace, the only black girl in the house that's black like you, it made her look like the enemy because at the end of the episode now you got half the house turning on her because Kirk wanted to go off and act crazy. Because Kirk did all that extra shit, now you got Kodai calling her a bitch. You got Kodai and Gus, and Kirk too, basically making her feel some type of way and making her look like the enemy. And it's just like that don't sit well with me. She's the only black girl in the house, and Kirk, you're the only black guy in the house. And if anybody should have her back, it should be you. And this is a prime example of what I mean when I have said in plenty of videos that a lot of black guys don't care about protecting black women. A lot of black guys will embarrass us and throw us under the bus and do it in front of other races of people and not even give a fuck, not blink an eye, and not even look back and be like, oh, my bad. Like, this type of shit happens all the time, and it actually even happens worse in other situations. But because this is on TV, and I happened to have watched it the other day, and I already made a video talking about Kirk and Candace and representation of them being in the house full of white people, I felt I should make a part 2 because this is literally another scenario where two black people in the house, not on code, not having each other's backs, and not representing for the race and looking dumb in front of these white people for everyone to laugh at. Now you got the only black girl in the house looking like enemy number 1. Got Kodai calling her out her name, Kirk calling her out her name, and I'm sure Gus did or will be. And all this because the only black guy in the house, just like Candace, I'll say that again. The only black guy in the house, just like Candace, the only black girl in the house, didn't have her back and threw her under the bus, and now she is being left to be cussed out and talked about by the other white people in the house. Thanks to the black guy, Kirk. Thank you, black men, for not having black women's back and always throwing us under the bus and disrespecting us in front of other races and making us look dumb. Thank you. And like I said in the other video, it was Candace's fault. And I gave her that accountability. And in this video, it's Kirk's fault. And he needs all the accountability. And this is a problem, like I said, in our community. We don't have each other's backs. We don't respect each other. We don't stay on code. And more specifically, a lot of black men honestly don't have black women's backs. They leave us to be thrown to the wolves and don't care. As you can see in this episode. And it kind of just looks like Kirk is just like making Candace feel like she shouldn't be allowed to question Kodai. Yes, she should. As a woman, you are allowed to question a man's intentions. Yes, you are. When a guy is courting you, I don't give a fuck how nice he is and how much he claims to like you. I don't give a fuck if he bought you a new house. If you're not my husband, I have the right to question your intentions on what you're doing and why you're doing it. Yes, she could have talked to Kodai about it, but she still shouldn't feel ashamed or wrong for feeling the way she feels, because as a woman, before you get with a man, you're supposed to vet them and see what their intentions are. And also, she didn't look at Kodai as a partner. She just looked at him as a friend, so she didn't feel like she needed to go in depth into it. So shame on you, Kirk, on some real shit, and shame on all these other black men out here who don't have black women's back, and that's just on period. You could disagree with this video, and that is fine, but you don't need to be disrespectful. If you will be disrespectful, then you will be blocked. But you can comment down below if you agree or disagree. That is fine. I have no problem with disagreements. You can disagree with me. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. Just don't be disrespectful. That's it. But it ain't gonna change my stance. I said what I said. I feel what I feel. A lot of black men don't have black women's back, and in this video, in this episode, Kirk didn't have Candace's back, and actually he threw her to the wolves. I said what I said. Like this video if you like it. If you don't like it, that is fine. If you disagree, that is fine too. Just be respectful. I'll see you in future videos because I'm gonna always have something to say.